Hey guys, Adam here with a complete overview of Apple's Back to Mac event. Apple announced a new version of Mac OS X Lion, iLife 11, and the brand new MacBook Airs. So stay tuned to this video and I'm going to be covering all that and more. So to begin, I'm going to be going over Mac OS X and the main new features. So here we go, Mac OS X Lion. I'm going to break this up into new features one by one. So first off is the Mac App Store. Now this is something really cool. I don't know how many people are actually going to use this, but it's pretty similar to the App Store on iOS 4. Basically, there's a very similar interface. This is a standalone application not built into iTunes, and you can download it on your Mac, and then you can download some cool Mac programs. So very similar to the App Store, you sign in with your Apple ID, there's going to be some paid apps and some free apps, which is something I've been looking forward to for a while. Next up is an application called Launchpad. Launchpad is essentially the springboard for an iPhone or iPad ported over to the Mac for the Mac applications. It opens up and looks very similar to the home screens on the iDevices with apps in a horizontal motion. Also, with Launchpad, you get the app folders like on iOS 4 on the iPhone or iPad. Next up, there is Mission Control. Mission Control is essentially a new version of Expose. It integrates Expose, dashboard, and the dock into one unified screen, and it actually looks pretty cool as you can see on screen now. And finally, saving the coolest new feature of Mac OS X Lion for last is FaceTime for Mac OS X. Finally, ever since FaceTime was announced and released, people have always been asking, hey, when's it coming to Mac? And it finally is here. There's even a beta available today. And let me note, this is a standalone application not built into iChat that allows you to FaceTime with the iPhone 4 or iPod Touch 4G, and most likely the iPad 2G when it's announced. Next up, there's iLife 11. iLife 11 has some cool new updates. There's not really too many new updates. I'm definitely going to be picking up iLife 11 though. So first off, there's updates to iMovie, iPhoto, and GarageBand. First off, iMovie. With iMovie, Apple has some pretty cool new features. First off, there's more advanced editing for audio, which is something apparently a lot of people were requesting to be in iMovie, and it's pretty similar to Final Cut. Next, there's something called one-step effects, which allows you to create some pretty cool special effects, and it even allows you to create a trailer for a movie pretty quickly through the program. Next up is iPhoto 11. iPhoto pretty much does not have too many new features, but the interface has completely changed and pretty much looks like the iPad Photos application now. There's a new full screen mode for this app, and there's also an update to the slideshow features on iPhoto 11, which allows you to make some improved slideshows. And next up in iLife is GarageBand. The coolest two new features in GarageBand, if they actually work correctly, are features called Groove Matching and Flex Time, which allow you to essentially make your singing or your musical instruments sound better by syncing them and fixing the rhythm in them. So next up, there is the new MacBook Airs. Apple started off their announcement of the new MacBook Airs today by saying, imagine that the iPad and MacBook morph together and you'll get this new MacBook Air. So essentially this is kind of true but not completely. There's no touchscreen like on the iPad, but there is a lot more new multi-touch features in the trackpad on the MacBook Air. So I'll get into that in just a second, but I want to go over the specs of these new MacBook Airs first. There's two models, a larger 13.3-inch MacBook Air that starts at $1299 for an 128GB model and $1599 for a 256GB model. This new MacBook Air has a 1.86 GHz processor or a 2.13 GHz processor, and this is an Intel Core 2 Duo processor. It also includes 2GB of RAM and has a improved 7-hour battery life. Next up, there's a smaller 11.6-inch model that starts at $999 for a pretty bad 1.4 GHz Intel Core 2 Duo processor. You can also get the more expensive model for $1199 that has 128GB of storage and some better specs. Then there's also a standard 2GB of RAM on this model as well. Next up, going over the new features to the MacBook Air. First off, there is a new slimmer and lighter design. It has a pretty strange design in my opinion. I definitely do think it looks cool, however. It kind of tapers down from 0.68 inches at the top to 0.11 inches at the bottom. It looks kind of cool and kind of weird at the same time. Leave your opinion in the comment section below about the new design. There's a new multi-touch trackpad, and then there's also an instant on feature for booting up the new MacBook Airs, where you can basically press the power and it will pretty much instantly be on. There's also no optical drive or hard drive on these new MacBook Airs. But there we go, guys. That is essentially my recap for today's Apple Back to Mac event. Thanks a lot for watching.